what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Dick Earth Skeptic, a new Patreon. Thank you very much for joining me on Patreon, Dick Earth Skeptic. Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, NA Literalist, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatterEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by at least one person, Steve ALM, in the Discord server, and 10th man in G+, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Now their new thing is we wouldn't need a container if the sky was a vacuum.
Too funny.
No, if the sky wasn't a vacuum.
What? It's a necessary antecedent. What are they on about?
Yeah, they're saying if there's not a vacuum of space, then you don't need a container. That's what I was arguing yesterday. Yes, you still do.
Yeah, you do. It's a necessary antecedent to have gas pressure. You need the gas to press on something.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, but
These people don't understand what the word antecedent means. You say something's an antecedent, they go, yeah, you don't need it. No, it's an antecedent. It's required. It's necessary. It's a necessary antecedent to have gas pressure, so without the container, there can be no pressure.
correct.
This is a slow transition from people with a belief into people accepting reality. To have gas pressure, you need containment. I've got a picture on screen for my audience now, right? That's a picture of the globe in the shape of a balloon flying away. And all the clouds form the part of the balloon that's the tail end of it. And it's essentially Earth in a vacuum. And how hilarious! It's flying away like a balloon. Well, no, obviously not. But the gas that you can see on their claimed picture from space would dissipate into the sky vacuum. Because what's it pressing on? It's moving high speed in all directions, including up and out from this picture. Therefore, it's going to fill the black bit. The black bit is claimed to be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Therefore, all this gas is going to immediately evacuate into it. That's what gas does. Making this picture and where it was taken from completely fake. On a more important issue, I've ordered a bass trap and an absorber diffuser for behind me. Now that is exciting. Yes, Nathan, I'm really excited. Me too. Done a lot of research. Probably watched 200 hours of acoustics videos.
Nathan, did Righteous make it in yet?
He's in the hangout. Say hi, Righteous. Can be there.
Hey, Redman.
Hey, I got a picture I want you to show to Nathan. It's the funniest thing I ran into the other day. I was playing my video game. Give me just a second. I'll post it to you, Righteous.
Post it where?
I'm gonna send it to DMs. I'm gonna DM Righteous so you can see it. It's funny.
Okay.
I'll explain it when you see it.
Fill us in. What is it? Tell us.
Well, I was playing Call of Duty, and you get like these kind of like achievements, stuff that you could put on your guns, and it was a flat Earth itself that I could put on my gun. I'll show it to you.
There's a flat Earth as part of the patch or part of the uniform. What do you mean?
It's like a little charm, like an earring that goes on your gun.
Oh, like a gun charm. How quaint.
Yeah, it's funny.
A flat Earth
give me
gun
just a
charm.
second.
And when you say flat Earth, please don't tell me it's an azimuth equidistant globe projection.
I just got the perk. I'll send it to him.
I'll have a look. Call of Duty. Call of Duty. Always sounds like Duty. Call of Duty.
Shoot 'em up game.
I've never played it. I've no idea. I bought Battlefield to benchmark this computer when I first got it, just for that purpose, because it's very CPU intensive, and I wanted to benchmark and overclock my CPU, and the way to test it isn't really with synthetic tests, it's with a game. And I'm not a gamer, I have no idea. I mean, I flew around in a helicopter for a bit, got bored pretty quickly.
Hey, you know what they use to check their sound in all the theaters in New York when they're
What?
doing sound checks?
What?
They use that band Steely Dan,
Oh, okay.
because they're real clean.
I see it. Sorry, 1 second, Neil. Weapon charm. And it's like a domed flat Earth with the sun and moon in it. Spit. Get it off my screen.
Yeah, when I opened up the crate, I was like, "What in the world?" Oh no, I got to show this to Righteous. This is funny. They're trolling us.
That's pretty cool.
Even says yes, science. Like that GIF.
Oh yeah, I can't read the writing underneath. It says, yeah, science. What's it say underneath? Weapon charm that can be equipped on the... What's the last two? I can't read that.
Maddox RFB.
RFB is the name of the gun, right?
I guess Maddox RFB.
Okay.
Here, I can zoom it in a bit. There you go.
Not the gun. Let's have a look at the charm. Show me the gun. I'll zoom in on it. Here you go. Here's the gun. Yeah, it's like is it Chris Pontius that makes models like that? Literally like physical models with a dome and a sun and moon in them, like massive things the size of a table. Yeah, it looks like one of them. Very cool.
Yeah, it makes me think about the ending of that movie Men in Black, when they had the little charm around the dog, and there was a whole world or something like that. I can't remember.
The cat.
Yeah, they do it in the first and the second. I can't remember if they do it in the third, but they do like a fractal zoom out. So you start in either a locker, I think, in the second one, and in the first one it's a bag of marbles, and one of the marbles is the equivalent to our universe, based on the cat in the film having a universe on its charm on around its neck, right? But they do a zoom out, which at the time, pre-Flat Earth obviously, I thought was so cool. They do a similar thing. They do it all the time now, but back in the day it was cool. They did it in Contact as well. So they start the movie out from a very, very, very far distance and slowly zoom in through all the different universes and all the different, planets, and then they zoom into the solar system, and then they get to Earth, then they go on to one of the continents, the States, and then they zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. Well, they did that in Men in Black, but it ended up being a couple of aliens playing with the universes as marbles at the end. And in the second one, we just contained to a locker, just some locker in some like a changing room. You open the door and our entire universe is in one locker. Hey, 10th man.
Hey, good morning.
Now I see that as
Morning.
the mocking us now. Back then I thought, wow, that's so visually cool and the sound effects are excellent. You know, it was great on like a big hi-fi. But now I see it as mocking us, literally taking the mickey out of us.
Nathan, before I forget, QE wanted you to go over something in Master B.
Oh, yeah.
You see it?
No, I'm just doing something else this second, but I'll have a look.
I did my job.
Master B. Tuesday, 26, 1 p.m. Central. He just wants me to plug his show, right?
No, the one before that.
Water
At
vapor.
Neil?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Stop the Presses 2.0, May 24th, 2020. We have the intellectual elites over on Jose J.G. Retard Show doubling down on their thesis defense that evaporated water is not a gas.
Have you considered evaporation?
Um,
According to Nathan Oakley and Quantum Racer, the current science is water evaporates and becomes gas.
I know that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard, but yeah.
What do you call it, John?
I call it gaseous.
I'm sorry,
a
I
gaseous
didn't
state,
know
not
that you were
gas.
joking.
So yeah, no, I'm not joking. They are joking. I am.
Globetard powers, activate. So we have the statement, water evaporates and becomes a gas, which elicits laughing and mocking from the entire retard panel. An outburst of laughter from Latonia Bailey, again, the newest member to the retard family. Pathetic from the Rhodes Scholar Brian Leakey. And Sean the Crackhead Hawkins calls it gaseous, a gaseous state, not a gas. And finally, the coup de grace from Professor Latent Unnatural Homoerotic Obsession with tapping on the whiteboard, Phil Belland, who responds to the claim water evaporates and becomes a gas with, "That is the dumbest statement I think I ever heard." So let's have a look-see. From their alma mater wiki, water vapor or aqueous vapor is the gaseous phase of water. From the American Chemical Society, water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas. From NASA, water vapor is also the most important greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. From NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, many greenhouse gases occur naturally in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. From Science Direct, water vapor is the most important atmospheric trace gas. From Energy Education, University of Calgary, although invisible, water vapor is one component of the wet stream released. Water vapor exists in the atmosphere as an invisible gas. From Yale, Climate Connections, water vapor is one of the most important elements of the climate system, a greenhouse gas. In conclusion,
Excellent. Thank you for letting me know, Neil. And then him sticking a load of copyrighted material on the end of it. Very good.
Didn't we hear that already?
No, we heard it in a different format. So we heard it when they were talking about it the first time. And obviously they've tuned into the show, heard us going, yeah, obviously water's a gas when it's evaporated. And they've gone, nah, It's gaseous. Oh my god, these people are morons.
Gaseous, but not a gas.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It's been vaporized, but it's not vapor. Yeah, that's the level we're dealing with.
Sally says refraction changes the apparent radius of Earth.
Apparent radius? What about
That's what
the
he
radius,
said.
though?
And then he also said flat earthers only look at observations over water, never land. I took notes yesterday listening to Spurs Chemo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we really are dealing with the morons, the dregs, the morons.
I think so. I really am starting to worry.
The people who don't know what a radius is sure do know how to circle jerk, though.
Very good.
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Very good. Very good.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from Tampa Bay, Florida.
Signs of
We do not see the geometric horizon.
We do not see the geometric horizon. Hey, Arwin.
Hey, hello. Where have you been?
It was bank holiday yesterday, so about 1 o'clock I decided that I was going to play with my kids and spend some time with my wife, because everyone else was on holiday. My wife wasn't at work, so I thought, well, I've got a spare show. One of the members only ones I released yesterday at 1. So why not? Everyone else was on holiday. Was it not a national holiday in your country?
Yes, you became an American yesterday.
I went to the store, so I don't think so.
I don't know about stores being closed, but certainly we call it a bank holiday.
Okay, well, I didn't check if the banks were closed. I think the ATM machines were still functioning. Or is it just the name?
Just the banks close on a bank holiday. And, you know, some major businesses might close, but on the whole, if it's in any way retail-based, they stay open and you get paid extra if you're a worker. Anyway, fun though it is
All
to
right.
discuss the national holiday system here in England.
Hmm.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Not of the
Nope.
Earth-based variety.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
Where?
Over there.
In that direction.
Did not come up where you are.
Sorry?
I was talking to Neil. Does it not come up where you are, Neil?
Yeah, it's over here. I'm pointing to the left.
Well, if they don't have a geometric horizon matched to their radius, isn't that how they measured the distance at one time, Nathan?
Yeah. What, with that Earth curve calculator?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if the radius is wrong, how's their measurement how far the sun is could be right anymore?
Oh, everything falls apart. Any evidence of the R value while we're on the subject?
Black
They
swan.
surrender all.
I had this weird conversation in the back panel when we weren't recording again. And yeah, they just can't handle it. They just keep on saying, but it's there. This is how you measure it. You measure the total distance you move over the Earth, and then you assume it can only be like that on a ball. I know he really thought he had the argument there.
Yeah, that's so 2019 though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
They can't handle it. I even tried to explain to him, like, okay, well, certain circumstances, depending on certain presuppositions, and he really thought he got me after that point. But I explained, no, not really. Yeah, you could definitely go in a straight line and end up at the exact same spot. There was a looping nature somewhere, and I tried to explain that to him, but then he just started about nonsense with Earth spin and like, how does the Earth spin work with looping, and it just.
You're only talking about the sun, though, when you describe it in that manner, right?
Sorry, again?
You're only talking about the sun. We're on the sun. We're talking about the sun, right? How far is the sun? What's the distance to it? And when you talk about looping, I don't want to get too heavily into this, Arwin. I'm just asking as a cursory question. You're talking specifically about the sun, though, aren't you?
No. There's no looping to the sun going on, because looping is like a spatial consequence effect of the realm, if it would exist under certain conditions, certain presuppositions, right? But the sun itself is non-local as far as I'm concerned, so it's not affected. It's just a visual apparition, and location or the looping of space somewhere has no relation to it whatsoever. It's just light coming from that direction in that location.
Fair enough. I don't know if I'm not supposed to spill these beans or not, but this morning before the show started, I got called by Dr. John D, one of the ballbusters. Very excited he was as well, to share with me his latest black swan that he caught yesterday. A whole series of black swans in actuality. And he showed me with the buoy, which we're familiar with. If you've seen my re-up of his video, check it out. PhD in spectroscopy destroys the globe, or words to that effect. I can't remember the exact title name. In any event, he went out, got another observation that is, in my humble opinion, with the exception of the original, which is always going to be the best because it's the original black swan image, not the argument, for the namesake of the image. We called that first picture of the oil platforms the black swan. Now the argument is obviously the Karl Popper argument, but the tag that picture got was the black swan, and subsequently any further images to that have been called black swan images for obvious reasons. Now, this latest black swan from Dr. John D, in my humble opinion, is the best one to date. So he's got a new one. He went out to catch the buoy. He's repeating what he's done before, but he caught something new, which was better. I'm not going to spill too many beans because it's not been released yet. He showed me while he was in the process of making a presentation video, which will come out. It might be in a week for all I know, so I don't want to ruin it too much for his audience members. Hopefully I'll be able to mirror it if it's done in a similar presentation style to the last video did, and I'll be very excited to do so and share it with you all, because after he'd shown me, I was like him. I was like, wow, this is so exciting. This is really cool. So without building it up too much, be on the lookout for Dr. John D's latest release. it's got black swans in it, a whole series of them. Again, without giving too much away, check it out when it comes out. But that'll be hopefully in the next week. I don't know how long it actually takes him to gather up somebody to do the voiceover work and actually produce the videos. I didn't ask that question. Also, I didn't ask if I shouldn't be mentioning this, so easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, it seems. So I'll shout out Godzilla and then we'll carry on with housekeeping. So massive shout out to Godzilla for hitting the super chat. He says... And Al Junkie as well, but I'll get to you in a second. Looping is what the Globers in this chat do. Their arguments get wrecked every day, and the next day they come back in to do it again. Indeed, Godzilla. Right on. Also, shout out to...
Hey, Nathan. Oh,
hello.
go finish.
Hello, whoever that was.
That's
no,
fine.
that was me. But go ahead, finish your super chat.
If I may, respond to that. Yeah, a loop is technically a circle. It's just not a... It's a circle within space, not a geometrical circle.
Okie
What
dokie.
space?
Shout out to Al Jungi, who says, new globe alphabet needed. ABC equals PQRSTUVWXYZ. New globe alphabet needed. ABC, etc. I don't understand it. Do you understand that? Anybody? Thank you for the super chat anyway, Al Junkie. Really appreciate your support. Don't understand the context, sorry. New globe alphabet required. Okay.
There's no R.
Oh, no R! P, of course. It's because I'm reading it about 2 meters distance and my eyesight's just not good enough. New globe alphabet needed. ABC, etc. P, Q, S, T, U, V. Gotcha. No R. Gotcha. Good job I had somebody to explain it to me. Thank you very much for the super chat, Al Junkie. Really appreciate it. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Hey, Paul.
No scientific evidence of gravity, but I'd like to comment on Dr. John D for a second.
Yeah.
When the Black Swan came out, we all agreed that because now that we had the horizon where it's supposed to not be there, that there was going to surface many pictures, videos from the past, even that because we didn't know what we were looking for, because we're looking for things being obstructed from the bottom up and explaining it as perspective, etc. But all the time, the horizon is, way past the thing that's disappearing and it should be before. And we said at that time, and that was in January, that in the future, very soon, there'll be so many black swans coming because we know what to look for. And I just remembered it when you said Dr. John D found something really nice.
Yeah, you're right. And I always get the L and the M the wrong way around. BMLSB69 has gone through his archives and done exactly that. Again, a lot of the videos that he received a lot of hate on are the ones that have got black swans in, just by coincidence. The ones with the most thumbs down. Yeah, he's gone back to his stuff that he's published, in some cases several years ago. And, qualified it with what we should or shouldn't see using their vernacular based on the presupposition of us being on a sphere. And it was a strange conversation with Dr. John D today, because although I did ask him some questions about how it runs through the mathematics of the globe assumption, it wasn't the focus of the conversation, because it wasn't really relevant. Obviously, in what he's showing me, I'm not giving anything away by saying the horizon was way beyond where it would be claimed, past tense, would have been claimed, that the geometric horizon was situated. Now that's no longer the case. We do not see a geometric horizon. So, the whole conversation was just very different in terms of how it would have been if we'd have had the same conversation 12 months ago. So you're not looking at the thing that has optical effects happening at the bottom of it anymore, because the claim that is in opposition to that from the globe side is that the effects that you're seeing at the very limited angle are caused by Earth curve. Well, if you've got the geometric horizon claimed to no longer be visible, and the horizon that is visible is way beyond whatever's being obstructed, clearly the obstruction is not Earth curve. So the conversation can't really sway down that road anymore, which is why it's such a beautiful argument. As soon as you start to sway down the globe route, you've got to go into fantasy worlds of moving geometric horizons into refracted positions, no longer having physical visible geometric horizons, two horizons, bent tangent lines. The whole thing becomes a complete farce as soon as you even try and beg the question.
Well, I had a 40-minute conversation with Chaiki yesterday, and the after panel. I recorded for members only video, but I'll tell you about it at least. Like, he actually went as far as to double down on claiming that on a flat Earth you would have no horizon. He really said that.
Yeah, the perspective denial is, again, a very 2019 affliction for the globe heads. Feel free to deny perspective. As I say, the conversation between myself and Dr. John D didn't go down that road. It hinted at it because it's an old argument that may come up, but it wasn't the path of the conversation, because it isn't relevant. Are we trying to explain why whatever it is we're looking at might be slightly compressed? When it's in the middle ground, it's not in the distance. The horizon's in the distance. So who cares? It's no longer relevant to argue about what's happening in the middle foreground, because it's not obscured by Earth curve.
According to Soundly, they said because we're assuming it's a perfect sphere.
It doesn't matter. If you've got a horizon that's kilometres or miles and miles away from whatever it is that you're looking at, and then you can see whatever optical effect you want to call it, compression, loom, it doesn't matter, because it's before the horizon. So it makes no difference. So the sphere can't grow. The R value and how it's calculated for what will reposition their second horizon is all based on R. You need the first horizon for everything they do. You need a geometric horizon. It's how it's qualified. It's how it's defined in all the dictionaries. The geometric horizon is supposed to be our visible horizon. The fact that it's denied in the trenches and claimed that we don't see one is just a concession that we don't live on a globe by the opposing side in the trenches. Now, does it change the fact that if you go and look up what the definition of a horizon is, it'll give it you in geometric Earth curve terms? Because that's what we're supposed to see. We're supposed to see an Earth curve edge for a horizon. We just don't have one.
Nathan, I've picked up on something, and it dovetails to what Arwen said, that guy said. And you've covered it many times. And most flat earthers have to deal with it every single time they talk to a baller. And that's, they, for some reason, think that on a plane, like a flat earth type of thing, that you should be able to see forever. Like you can see New York from England or something. It's the most ridiculous statement that they come up, as if we ever said those words out of our mouths. But it's them saying it to, it's almost like a trick to say that so that you don't deal with the subject. But they forget nonsense about diffraction limit and angular resolution.
These things are listed when you buy your camera in the handbook. You need to know the angular resolution of your camera. You can calculate it yourself with the Rayleigh criterion. It's based on the aperture size. That's what's giving you your angular resolution, the size of the hole the light's travelling through. The bigger the hole, the better the angular resolution. As I say, you can calculate it with the Rayleigh criterion. Well, the point that things disappear, reach the diffraction limit, is real. Perspective's real. What do you want? To deny it? Okay, well, that's just you denying a fundamental principle of our reality, because you've got a globe belief. Okay, go on your way. Yeah, okay, perspective's not real. It's all Earth curving when the horizon's behind the thing that's obscured. So what's obscuring this thing in the middle foreground? Obviously we're not going to argue about whether or not it's Earth curve, because that would be way off in the distance, wouldn't it, now, if the horizon was a physical edge to a sphere? So we're not going to argue about that. But clearly there's an effect going on, isn't there, in the middle foreground, not in the background. So yeah, we can still definitely qualify things getting too small to see, because things in the middle foreground gets too small to see as well. It's not everything disappearing behind Earth curve, because perspective is real. We move on. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
Nope.
None whatsoever.
What's gravity?
An effect.
I don't care. As long as I get scientific evidence for it, Paul, you always get it in the neck.
You keep claiming weight.
Weight's intrinsically attached to a downward vector, which they can ascribe gravity to in Newtonian terms. However, gravity isn't being effective, shall we say, when it comes to things that aren't going down, of which there are plenty. We can detail them now if you wish, or we can move on in housekeeping, Neil. Which would you prefer?
Up force.
Move on.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
You mean guesswork?
No. Viable hypothesis.
No, I know, but they're going to give us guesswork.
Has Dr. Becky contacted you yet,
Dr. Becky.
As much as Dr. Becky sits in front of that computer and reads email, you would think she would have contacted me, but no, she hasn't.
I have something on that.
Go ahead.
If natural law is completely independent of human understanding, that means Kepler's third law and the law of gravity can't.
Why is that?
You cut off at the end. Sorry.
I
Say
said,
again, John, just the last bit.
If natural law is, well, they can't be laws if they're, dependent upon, understanding that we live on a.
I see. Yeah, they need R for all that stuff, correct. They also need to assume Venus has the same R value as Earth. So given that we've debunked Earth's R value, the assumption of Venus's R value is not going to get you very far either. And Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion is going to depend on their assumptions, which we've debunked. As I say, the entire model falls apart at this stage because R's been killed. The R value, Earth radius, is dead. Therefore, the geometric Earth curve model, a sphere Earth, is also dead.
Well, there's also a problem with Kepler's third law too. I mean, there has to be some kind of solid objects or bodies. So what's the evidence that these bodies that we see in the sky, these lights in the sky, are physical bodies?
Well, some of them they claim are rocks, some of them they claim are gaseous in a vacuum, violating the second law.
Oh, Nathan, I got a good one for you. Sean Hawkins in chat says the existence of Neptune was discovered with a hypothesis.
A hypothesis doesn't discover or explain anything. So a hypothesis is an abstraction, if you will. It's a supposition. So a hypothesis doesn't give you anything until you actualize it. So the actualization of a hypothesis, anyone know what that's called?
Experiment.
Right, an experiment where you empirically validate or invalidate, that's why it's an empirical method, your presumed cause of the effect that you've observed. That's a hypothesis. Your supposition of the presumed cause of the effect that you observed. And then when you say, let's see if it actually causes the effect, and then you vary it to see if it causes it, that was the actualization of your hypothesis. So a hypothesis alone is useless.
Leave it to a baller to think a hypothesis is something that it isn't.
Well, they've got just so stories. So by comparison, in scientific vernacular, you could compare, loosely, a just so story with a supposition. I suppose that pouring acid into the water will make it boil. So, hello, Mr. Stranger. You know what causes water to boil? Acid content. That's my just so story now, isn't it? It went from being a presumed cause of the effect yet to be validated to my just so story because I've just used a hypothesis to explain something. Well, it doesn't explain anything. A hypothesis on its own is a supposition.
Well, now, isn't a hypothesis without experiment pretty much an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy?
If it's not actualized and you then take it and turn it into a just so story, if this then that therefore this. So if acid then boiling water, here's some boiling water, it must have acid content. Yeah, you could turn it into an affirming the consequent very easily, and that's generally speaking the nature of their just so stories. But yeah, a hypothesis is an experiment yet to be actualised. So it's useless on its own. Anyway, shout out to Al Junkie, who says, zoos do better research than ballers. Hashtag hypothesis. Very good, Al Junkie. Thank you very much.
Hypothesis.
He's in a funny mood, Al Junkie, today, but I like it. He's paying me to be in his funny mood, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you for the super chat, Al Junkie. Really appreciate your support.
Nathan,
go on.
A synonym for hypothesis is theory.
Well, that's wrong also in scientific vernacular. Scientific theory comes after the actualization of a hypothesis. So you have your hypothesis, your supposition, then you actualize it, and if validated, because obviously you might get it wrong, your presumed cause might not cause the effect. So my supposition of acid causing boiling water, well, you go and pour a load of acid into the water, it doesn't boil, and you go, oh, well, that's not the cause then. So you've empirically invalidated your hypothesis. You've proven that it's not acid content that causes water to boil. You've invalidated your supposition. But after you've validated it, maybe heat causes it. Heat causes water to boil. Yeah, let's try that. You heat up the water, it boils. Hey, presume cause of the effect validated. You can then move on to your water boiling theory. But not before you've got a validated experiment.
Well, let me just read an excerpt here. In non-scientific use, however, hypothesis and theory are often used interchangeably to mean simply an idea, speculation, or hunch, with theory being the more common choice.
Oh, in non-science, in colloquial terms. Oh, I've got a theory about how water boils. You pour acid in. That's my theory. Go forth and tell people about acid content, because that's my theory. Oh, didn't I mention theory in colloquial terms? As in, I've got no idea. I'm just making it up.
Still have to prove it.
Yeah, until it's proven, though, it's just an affirming the consequent, unless it has experimental validation.
It's not, unless you formulate it that way. I know what you're saying, and you are half right. Most of the time, they formulate it into an affirming the consequent. You can put it forward as a suppositional statement without affirming the consequent. If acid, then boiling water, as a suppositional statement. I'm not affirming the consequent. I'm not saying we have boiling water, therefore it must have acid in it. That you've got to actually formulate it. That's why it's called formal. It's the form, if P then Q, Q therefore P. If you don't actually formulate it that way, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people who will also make an affirming the consequent without stating the latter part of the formal logical fallacy. They just ask you to do it for them.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They state the first part like it's a hypothesis, but they don't finish it.
Correct.
Can I
They
bring
claim
in
that
an
the whole
example
bonus
that
total is
we
wrong.
go over and over each time, and I think it relates to this. So they say, meaning the ballers, that the Earth is rotating, 1,000 miles at the equator and different speeds towards the north and south pole of their model that doesn't have an R anymore. The challenge to that is that I'm sitting here looking out my window, and even if I go outside, I don't, through my senses, feel this rotation of the Earth. Secondly, there would be Earth-based Coriolis if the Earth was rotating, because if you go up in a helicopter, the Earth should turn underneath you, but it doesn't. So the fact that it cannot be proven, but it's stated as the religious belief that the Earth is rotating, this is exactly they say something, but they can't prove it, but then they make it the unscientific scientific so they can get on with the religion of the ball Earth.
Right, but we can take the same statement and turn it into modus tollens. If the Earth is a non-inertial spinning reference frame, we will observe Coriolis effect. We do not observe Coriolis effect, therefore Earth is not a non-inertial spinning reference frame.
Right, but that's proper.
Well, it's just logic. They just don't have it, so they have to turn it into logical fallacy, because we don't have a spinning Earth. And when you pull it apart, they argue with a begging the question fallacy for what won't happen, what we won't see, what would prove Earth spinning, i.e. Coriolis deviation from the ground. Well, they argue about the projectile and how it's conserving momentum, i.e. they veer off onto a different topic, conservation of angular or linear momentum, rather than talking about Coriolis deviation observed from a non-inertial spinning reference frame, because they can't prove it.
Well, my second part to that is I've been doing star trail photography almost every night when the sky's clear, and it's just beautiful images, right? But they're moving, but they say we're moving, that causes the star trails. And I say no. I say they're moving in the circuit, and they're repeated year after year to where they have their star guides for hundreds of years in advance, as well as from the past, repeating themselves. So they're dead right there, just using their own astronomy.
Sean Hawkins from the chat says hurricanes are caused by Coriolis. No, they're not. If you want to join the panel, I'm more than happy to explain. It's not a simple explanation, but the observation of Coriolis is of a not actual deflection. That's what Coriolis effect is. Not actual deflection. Well, Coriolis effect isn't going to cause anything ever. It's a not actual deflection. So is Coriolis causing a hurricane to spin? No. It's the observation of a not actual deflection. It's a pseudo force, a not actual force. So forcing hurricanes to spin? No. Sean Hawkins, you asked us a question, which is why I'm not going to give you an earful, because you put a question mark at the end. Good for you. You don't know. Fine. Let me be the first to tell you. No, hurricanes are not a result of Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect is not a force. So it can't whip hurricanes up. And if you're to claim that we're seeing a not actual deflection in the hurricane, that would imply the hurricane's moving straight and we're only seeing it appear to deviate, whereas hurricanes have actual spin directions, Sean Hawkins. Now, I understand that this is obviously a cut above your intellectual pay grade, but no, hurricanes are definitely not caused by Coriolis, which is an observation of a not actual deflection. Hurricanes have an actual spin direction. Moving
How can
on.
observation do anything?
No, watching something seem to do something won't ever cause anything. If I'm watching a plane and I'm on a roundabout and I look up at the plane, and because I'm spinning underneath it on a roundabout, I go, wow, that plane looks like it's curving, because I'm looking at it from a spinning reference frame. Well, that looking like it's curving is a not actual deflection. Likewise, the claim that Earth is spinning under a pendulum. You swing the pendulum and it moves in one direction, forward and backward. That is what a pendulum does. However, it's claimed that it knocks the dominoes over because the Earth's rotating underneath. The pendulum's not actually moving to the side, Earth's rotating underneath. That's the claim. Not actual deflection. Earth rotating underneath, i.e. you on the roundabout rotating under the plane, looking at the plane seeming to curve. Well, I'm not causing the plane to move in a cyclonic action like a bloody hurricane. It just looks like it's curving because I'm spinning underneath. So it's me doing the spinning, not the plane. And if I'm spinning underneath something, seeing it not actually deviate, unlike a hurricane, my observation's not causing that hurricane. And if I was to observe it in wind, it would be an implication that the wind's travelling straight, I'm spinning underneath it, and it looks like it's taking a curved path. It's not actually taking a curved path. In the case of hurricanes, it is actually taking a curved path. Definitely not Coriolis deviation.
Another question, Nathan. How is something moving in a straight line experience? Now, experience means that thing moving in a straight line is actually, you can measure the centrifugal force. So how can something moving in a straight line experience centrifugal force?
It doesn't. The projectile has nothing to do with Coriolis deflection, because Coriolis Coriolis deflection is always observed from a spinning reference frame. So the projectile in your example has no force on it whatsoever. It's completely unaware that you might be watching it from a roundabout seeming to curve. And it doesn't need to in any way concern itself that I might happen to be underneath it, spinning underneath it, seeing it seem to curve. There's no force involved. Hello, QE.
Hello. How are you?
Very well. 32 minutes in, we're still not done with housekeeping, but that's always nice.
Hello.
One last thing, Nathan. One last thing. So even though you can mathematically describe that object experiencing centrifugal forces, it is not actually experiencing centrifugal forces, correct?
Correct. The projectile, which is in the inertial reference frame, has absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect. It's only the observation of what the projectile seems to be doing because you're rotating underneath it.
They validated it with a double-blind observation.
A double-blind experiment? We need
no double
flat Earth math
So
on the case.
If it's blind, how do you see it? If it's blind, how do you see it?
Yeah, that's what I was getting
No,
at.
double blind. You've got a third party that's not even involved in the experiment. He just happens to be walking his dog past the roundabout, and he looks up, notices it, and then just doesn't mention it to you, and then that's the job's a good one. Triple blind.
No, it's even worse than that. He was a blind man who didn't see it.
There's a blind man on a roundabout being watched from a guy on a park bench, and both of them have got no vision. The guy on the park bench blindfolded, and the guy on the the path outside the park walking his dog. He's the actual arbiter of it, but he doesn't even know. He's triple blind.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
pretty
why
much
they
how the
have the
globe
term,
works.
the blind leading the blind.
But somebody calculated on the calculator and gave him the data, so there you go.
Well, that's maths. That's good as good as science, right? Make a graph. That's as good as science.
As long as you assume time is orthogonal, fuck, I can't even say it.
I don't think so. I would assume that time was the ultimate cause of it all.
Time causes everything, according to the ballers.
Yeah, time is the cause of all things. Will I give up smoking today? Only time will tell.
What a bunch of maroons. Now, I got a question. I got a little something from the Jose JG Retard Show on our greatest subject of the week. Water vapor. Guess who else stepped in it?
We played the clip in the pre-show, so this is kind of spoiled if you remember or you're watching this on the second channel. But yeah, we've already played it. But feel free, because this is obviously new to the audience listening live.
Sorry, man. I was sitting on it for a couple of days. You played it in pre-show. Play it again.
I will do once you finish the description and we've got through housekeeping. 30.
Is it Sean?
5 minutes.
Sean?
Sean Hawkins, yeah.
I have 2 shows titled after that in the last 3 days. So
Just to let everyone know, thousands of people have listened to that.
yeah,
because every time I do one of those, I have my Discord mailing list, and it goes to thousands of people as soon as I put it out. There, Sean. Oh, and it's a better one this time because they got the professor of physics, Professor Phil Belland. That's priceless, man. Yeah, all them guys, but I think they think, just stay with me for a second. I think not all of them, but the ones that were speaking, they think that when a water turns into a gas, it must have to break the hydroxyl bonds, the intramolecular bonds, or something. I don't know,
this
dude.
again. So they're not understanding the difference between inter and intra molecular bonds, right?
Yeah, the intermolecular bonds in water, just hydrogen bonds. When it breaks those bonds, certain situations become a gas. It doesn't break the hydroxyl bonds, the covalent bonds, and breaks it into oxygen and hydrogen.
How much energy is actually needed to do that? Because they do that in some modern power cells, right?
Yeah, serious energy, break that hydroxyl bond. It's a real strong bond.
Yeah, but it produces vast amounts of energy in the process, right?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Right, but that's not happening during evaporation. That's my point. Yeah, the H2O is still bonded when it evaporates. It's still water. It's water vapor. So it's still H2O. The intramolecular bonds haven't been severed. That would take... That's a completely different process. It's not evaporation.
yeah. So they assume it literally transforms into something else.
Well, they
So
assume
is it safe?
it liberates its hydrogen. That's what they're trying to...
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because that split up has for some reason been called water gas, which is kind of deceptive.
Yeah, it's very confusing if you think water's not a gas.
Is it safe to say the ballers
because
miss?
the split up of water, hydrogen, oxygen, has been called water gas. But that is actually not the gaseous version of water. That's not water vapor, which is actually the gaseous form of water. So that's kind of confusing. Maybe that's where it's
confusing.
Coming from.
You just said it's not, and then you just said it is. You're double speaking, Arwin.
No, water gas. It's something. It's a chemical name.
Look, before you embarrass yourself, I'm going to play the clip.
Stop the Presses 2.0, May 24th, 2020. We have the intellectual elites over on Jose JG Retard Show doubling down on their thesis defense that evaporated water is not a gas.
Have you considered evaporation?
Um,
According to Nathan Oakley and Quantum Racer, the current science is water evaporates and becomes gas.
I know that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard, but yeah.
What do you call it, John?
I call it gaseous.
I'm sorry,
A
I
gaseous
didn't
state,
know
not
that you were
gas.
joking.
So yeah, no, I'm not joking. They aren't joking. I am.
Globetard powers, activate. So we have the statement, water evaporates and becomes a gas, which elicits laughing and mocking from the entire retard panel. An outburst of laughter from Latonia Bailey, again, the newest member to the retard family. Pathetic from the Rhodes Scholar Brian Leakey. And Sean the Crackhead Hawkins calls it gaseous, a gaseous state, not a gas. And finally, the coup de grace from Professor Latent Unnatural Homoerotic Obsession with tapping on the whiteboard, Phil Belland, who responds to the claim water evaporates and becomes a gas with, "That is the dumbest statement I think I ever heard." So let's have a look-see. From their alma mater wiki, water vapor or aqueous vapor is the gaseous phase of water. From the American Chemical Society, water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas. From NASA, water vapor is also the most important greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. From NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, many greenhouse gases occur naturally in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. From Science Direct, water vapor is the most important atmospheric trace gas. From Energy Education, University of Calgary, although invisible, water vapor is one component of the wet stream released. Water vapor exists in the atmosphere as an invisible gas. From Yale, Climate Connections, water vapor is one of the most important elements of the climate system, a greenhouse gas. In conclusion,
that's enough of that. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah.
They can't be that stupid.
So
yeah, they are.
Quantum Eraser, are you saying the ballers missed it again?
Missed. Yeah.
So this is in response to it's a tangent of a housekeeping question. So any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No.
No, but ballers are not smarter than a fifth grader.
You can't be asking that question to ballers anymore. You have to take 25 steps back, right? You have to get into, okay, when water evaporates, does it become a gas? I've been asking all of them, right? They don't get to pass go. We have to go back to the beginning. Friggin' priceless.
Yeah,
keep it up, guys.
Beginning of schooling. I mean, I remember the phase changes being taught with water. You know, using 0 Celsius. to explain the point where you have that particular phase change, or 100 degrees Celsius. But obviously at sea level. Anyway, that was what was used. It was water that was used to describe these changes to me in school. It's one of those very, very early memories of something that seemed scientific.
Didn't we talk about sublimation last week, where something can go straight from a solid to a gas, and
Yes.
water actually does that in a freezer? Doesn't it do that in the freezer?
Yeah, that's true. But we gave the comparison, something people might be more familiar with, even if it's just on movies, but dry ice.
Who was the moron that made the argument that he conceded the container, but then he tried to argue about the gradient within it?
I don't know. They all blur into one globe head now. Just shout out Al Junkies, best one to date so far. Oxygen loss makes ballers pseudo-smart. Hold on, you're ruining his gag. I'll say it again. Oxygen makes ballers pseudo-smart. Hashtag oxymorons.
Maybe the ballers are just trying to find a way to let off some steam.
Didn't Axl Rose used to use oxygen, like highly concentrated oxygen, when he was doing stage shows? Gets you high if you just have pure oxygen. So I understand. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
That's about as realistic as gas pressure without a container, right?
I think it's more farcical, if anything. It's the most farcical bit of the housekeeping. Any evidence that we've got a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. The backstories get even better, but in my opinion, it's the most farcical bit of the whole narrative.
I agree.
At least they've got a red herring defense to gas pressure without a container. What about the gradient? You know
Well,
what I mean?
don't they say something about sound waves or something that they bounce into the ground? Seismic waves. I'm sorry, seismic waves.
P
Yeah, but
waves
the
and S
problem is
waves.
that every time they do that, the result is so inconclusive they can't even agree on a model of what's really down there. That's the problem. They can't even uphold a real pretense of knowing what's down there based on actual data. That's kind of the problem. So they just don't talk about it too much.
Yeah, they get it wrong. P waves and S waves. They predict something and then it gets dug and it's something else. So, not very reliable.
Did you hear Planet Orleans Parish? Soundly's back.
Oh, joy.
The Spurs said, he said geometric horizon, and the brain surgeon Soundly said, that's word soup.
What? Really?
Someone in the, I think it was
Maybe.
Neil in the pre-show said one of them was
Maybe
arguing.
he said that because he was slurring his mouth.
In the pre-show, Neil said that one of them had claimed, you'll like this, the apparent geometric horizon. Oxymoron. I like it.
Carnival tent, man. Carnival tent. Hey, I got a shameless plug.
For your show tonight.
Yeah.
We're done with
So
housekeeping. Go ahead.
yeah. See if I can do it correctly. So on the Quantum Eraser channel today, 1 p.m. U.S. Central, 8 p.m. UK, is Redshift and the Nebular Hypothesis. I'm gonna slaughter them. So be here or be sphere.
This
Go ahead.
episode 7. Yeah, it does. It covers Doppler. So if anybody's been hearing about Doppler shift in that particular category of arguments, then yeah, you're going to want to tune into that. So it's tonight. It's actually 7 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Central Standard, and that's on the Quantum Eraser channel. So be here or be sphere for Redshift and the Nebula Hypothesis Slaughtered on Quantum Eraser.
It's going to be live or premiere?
It's a pre-record.
Premiere.
Oh, okay.
I'm on vacation.
Cool.
Just some pedigree. Just some pedigree information with that. Hello?
I'll just do a quick note for your benefit. So a guy in the chat called OALM, he also makes videos. Shout out to you for making videos, by the way, OALM, even though you're on the opposing side. Good for you. He actually got a quote unquote scientist to talk to him about the DNA model, and he asked the guy what the independent variable was, and the guy stuttered a little bit. You know where this is going, right? Shifted uncomfortably in his chair, and then went on to describe making graphs, doing some mathematics, and how these variables interact with each other. So I went into I've quoted him, this scientist, in the guy's AOLM, or whatever you say his name. Went into his comments and was like, ooch, variables. Maybe look up the word independent. Better look next time.
Hey, can you put the link somewhere?
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll dig it out. I'll send it to
Please.
you in Master B. But it's very
I know
amusing.
the cause of DNA. I know it. Time cause DNA.
Time
Well, he
did,
started.
right.
He was asked that question. He's asked what the independent variable was, and he went on to describe hydrogen behavior.
Oh my god! When you say scientist, what is he?
I don't know. I can't remember.
All right. Hey, just some pedigree information with that. With the Redshift, that is my oldest presentation. That was the first presentation I've ever done. 12 years ago.
Can we just get into it just quickly, just because this is coming up more and more with people talking about Redshift and talking about the Doppler effect, and it does bug me. And I remember Anthony cottoning onto this. Sleeping Warrior is actually in the chat at the minute, cottoning onto this, and he even called me about it and asked me quite specifically, how can this apply? I.e., how can if you know what Doppler effect is, if an ambulance drives past you and it's coming towards you, as it comes towards you, the wave is being compressed, the sound wave, the physical wave that travels through the air is getting shorter because it's coming towards you. When it passes you, the wave is getting longer as it gets further and further away. That's the Doppler effect. You can use it to measure speeds of things. It's very useful. It uses sound waves. Now, given that on this show we go into quite a lot of detail about light not being a wave, it poses the question, how is it applicable that you can have these Doppler-like shifts? And the answer is you can't. That's the bottom line.
I could have ended it right there, but I didn't. I went on another angle, but you're absolutely correct. That's how you destroy that argument right off the knees real quick. You got it.
All right. So the reflector situation that I pointed out like a few weeks ago, that's not the Doppler effect. You can't demonstrate the Doppler effect on Earth. It's only supposedly a presupposed celestial phenomenon. Is that correct?
No, Doppler effect is real.
For light.
No, not for light. For waves. For waves
right,
being compressed.
For sound.
For waves.
Right.
Sound waves, yes.
All right.
I didn't see what you presented. I don't know what you're talking about.
He didn't present
So
anything.
there's no Doppler effect for light. Simple as that.
Light's not a wave. How can you have a wave being compressed as it speeds towards you and then get longer as it gets further away? How can that happen if it's not a wave? If you're talking about a probability distribution, how can a probability distribution... I can't even phrase this in a way that links the two together. I can't even do it.
Well, maybe it's something else. It's not really a wave or a particle. So maybe, but I was just asking, I wasn't even asking to the nature of light itself, which would kind of be involved in that. Rather, like there is no Doppler-like effect ever spotted on light on Earth where you can confirm it's actually on Earth.
I've got it. I've got the question. I've got the question for you. How do you squash a probability distribution?
You fold the sides
Well,
of
light
the
has to
detector
speed.
in.
Hold on, I'm getting an
Well,
answer. Hold on. QE, go on. Go on.
You fold the sides of the detector in.
You fold the sides of the detector in? What? I don't even understand what you mean.
I don't think that's what
Sounds
they're
like a joke
planning.
answer.
A joke answer.
no-
I shouldn't be. I'm looking for a nonsense answer, and I'm getting one.
Hold on, I
Okay,
can give you
I
an
was
answer.
actually genuinely trying to inquire as to the nature of what's going on with light, because light does seem to have a speed, empirically, measurably so,
Is that so?
deducibly so.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if it has a speed, that it means that there is some kind of traveling going on, or whatever is actually, however you consider that, and then, well, motion should have some kind of effect on how that light then is absorbed if the speed is altered, and speed of light does have an influence, so they say.
Right. Let me just piss all over that bonfire. Not only does light not have a speed, it doesn't even have a journey.
What? That doesn't
That's
make any
too,
sense.
that's too heavy.
That
That's too
doesn't
heavy
make
there,
any
Nate.
sense.
That's
that
too heavy. Hold on, I'm getting told off.
contradicts the particle claim.
Hold on. What do you mean that's too heavy?
It's too. I just woke up just a little bit ago, man. You got to slow down a bit.
It's true though.
Yeah, it's incorrect.
It's not incorrect. How dare
Yes,
you?
it is incorrect.
No, it
Light
isn't.
has a speed.
Oh, okay. We'll look into
Light
it.
has
You
a
said you were
speed.
into the light stuff. They know nothing about light. They know so little about light. It's untrue. We are but scratching the surface when we talk about the double slit or the delayed choice quantum eraser. But I'm not being funny. That obviously there's great minds gone into these experiments, and I'm not decrying them and what they have taught us, and it's monumental in some instances. However, we haven't even scratched the surface of light. Believe me, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it's doing. We haven't got a clue.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You're correct.
You don't know its past. How do you measure its Doppler effect?
How do you measure what?
Well,
If
the
it has
Doppler
no
effect,
path, how do you measure its Doppler effect?
Doppler
You wait
effect
till it
is-
evaporates.
You're talking about real Doppler effect with sound.
Yeah, that's where that comes from. And what I was basically asking, does Doppler effect also seem to at least apply to light? But there's no signs of that. There's only the claim apparently of redshift, but that's about celestial sightings.
Well, no, I guess you'd miss my point. If there's no path information, how do you measure a Doppler effect?
Exactly.
What?
There's no path. We're not dealing with diffracted light necessarily. We're just dealing with light.
Yeah, exactly. This is not about slits.
You're dealing with photons.
This is just about light moving.
Yeah, when we're talking about firing through things through slits, you're trying to achieve an interference pattern, diffraction. So you can get your probability distribution that gets called a wave, even though it's probability distribution, wave function. But the point is that that's only when you're getting this interference pattern that you can then go on to qualify in terms of wavelengths for light, in quotes. You couldn't see me doing my air quotes, I'm not on camera.
Wavelength? Oh, I love it. There's so much inherent confusion with the descriptions of how light's supposed to function and then what it technically is. The contradictions are just all filled up there, don't you think?
But if you understand what the maths is describing, a wave function is an accurate way of describing what a probability distribution is. That's not inaccurate. It might be confusing and has been used to confuse, but the actual vernacular is descriptively accurate. You're only trying to verbally or mathematically describe something when you're doing this. So in many ways, it's kind of arbitrary when the word wave function. Well, it's got an etymology. It does make sense, although it is confusing. You are right.
Yeah, it does make sense, but it gets extra confusing when you're talking about frequencies of wave functions.
Well,
because then you're taking it a step more literal when it's actually not literal. It then gets really weird.
Well, in audio terms, they used to call it something different. So modern audio guys call it frequency, whereas older audio guys will call it cycles. You know, you've got your quarter wave and your half wave. They call it, they've got slightly different vernacular. I only know this because I've been recently studying acoustics. but as I understand it, you know, the vernacular's changed from cycles to frequency. And when you describe it in terms of cycles, you can picture it in terms of its physical wave and what it's physically doing, because it is physical. But when you're describing probability distributions, it's not, it's a likelihood of something as opposed to something physically actualizing itself through the air and shortening or lengthening. So they're not even comparable.
Say it just appears like a wave, but that it doesn't actually mean it's a wave.
There's nothing about light that's wave-like in any way, shape or form at all. It's probability distribution when it's diffracted that's been hijacked to make light into a bloody wave, and it isn't.
Right, but there is the diffraction cascade unique to light, though. That is actually confusing.
You get the last word in, then I'm going to ask people to stay tuned if they're watching on the programming stream. Go ahead, Kiwi.
I didn't say anything, man.
Oh, whoever it was in Discord. It was Rumpsing Arwen.
The Doppler effect is from when you're in motion. The wavelength isn't actually changing. It's just the way you're perceiving that wavelength. So I don't think that would apply to a stationary Earth.
Well, no, the wavelength is changing.
It's getting with the motion
as the speeding ambulance goes past you, that wavelength that's reaching your ears is literally a longer wavelength.
Right. And Nathan, wouldn't you say that it's almost like a Coriolis effect?
Oh,
like
God, why didn't I leave that line?
Yeah, I know.
Right, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on live stream Nathan Oakley channel. But if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Because the sound wave is basically moving just at the same speed. It's just that if you're moving also, then to you, it will be stretched up. So it's almost like a not actual stretching up that just seems like that because of the moving reference frame. Right?
I missed the beginning of that. I'm sorry, Owen.
I was just saying that the Doppler effect is almost kind of like the Coriolis effect. Like the sound wave as it's moving is not actually changing its frequency, changing whatever. It's because the person receiving the sound is moving, that because of that, just like the Coriolis effect is not actual deflection, there is an apparent stretch up.
So it's an actual... Didn't I just cover this before we rounded up the live show? The ambulance is speeding away from you, lengthening the wave. It physically lengthens the wave. Likewise, when it's coming towards you, it's shortening it. That's an actual shortening of the wave because the ambulance is moving. Moving.
Right. No, but I was mentioning about sound being stationary and then you moving. You know? It doesn't really matter. It's about the relation of the origin point.
Let me think about what you're saying. So you're saying, would you get a Doppler effect if you're on a roundabout and you've got an ambulance that's parked, it's playing its siren, and you move away from the wave, and then you go around the roundabout and come back towards it? Are you hearing it shorten and lengthen? Is the fact that you're... Yeah, because you're travelling along with the wave as you're going away from it. But the wave itself, in that instance, isn't actually being lengthened. Your perception of the wave is lengthened because you're travelling along a journey that the wave is also travelling with. So it's a Doppler effect. You would hear a Doppler effect on a roundabout, but it isn't because the physical wave is being shortened because the ambulance is coming towards you and then going away. It's you on a roundabout travelling with the wave, which would effectively, would that shorten it as you went away from the wave? And then it would lengthen it coming back the other way around on the roundabout. I'd have to think about this a bit. But yeah, I think you're right, Arm.
You're totally getting my point. Yeah,
I am getting your point. You're right. I think you're right. I just don't know which way round. Would it shorten it as you went away from it on the roundabout, or lengthen it? I'd have to think about it. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, well, sound going away from you should be lower than sound approaching to you. Then it should be higher because
you're right, and that would give you a Doppler effect. But that would be a Coriolis Doppler effect, right? We're way off in the weeds here, but it's fascinating to think about because in that instance, you're right. There isn't an actual change in the wavelength. It's always consistent.
Wait a minute. There's actually an interesting point here that nobody thinks about. If the stars are moving away and the Earth is stationary, then if the Doppler effect or the redshift is valid, then it should be able to be observed because the stars are maybe necessarily moving away from you as you observe them. If you understand what I'm saying, even though the Earth is stationary.
If they were actually physically somewhere and then moving, yes, probably.
I think that gets covered on that show, actually. The lack of blue shift is also covered, I believe. Is that right, Quantum Eraser? I vaguely remember it coming up and me asking a question in that vein. I think it's on that show. I'll have to watch it because it's a fairly old presentation. It's not. Although Quantum Eraser says it's an old presentation, it might be his old presentation, but it isn't that presentation when he first did it. In case anyone thinks it's like some 5-year-old video, it isn't. But just so you know. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll be watching that. Buggered off to get breakfast, clearly. This is a one-way conversation I'm having about a show that I'm plugging. But there we go. Such is life. You're flashing, but I can't hear you, Neil. We had an issue with Discord. Just going to disconnect and reconnect Discord. It seems like I've got an audio issue with it. Someone in Discord say something? Or not? Are people talking in Discord, but I just can't hear them? Let's just try once more. Sod's law that I'll be doing all this and just nobody's actually saying anything, no one's replying to me.
Does it show people in Discord?
Yeah, I just can't see anybody replying. Can somebody say hello?
Maybe not.
I see people flashing, but I can't hear anything from them. Literally nobody's replying to me.
Is there a way you could refresh it to check?
Just have.
Sorry? Say again? I was
waiting to check if somebody's talking in Discord. But no, either I'm not getting a reply or I've got an audio issue, one or the other.
Okay, I'll check.
Thanks.
Can we, as he's checking, let me know when I can ask a question.
You there, Redman? Yeah, Neil's flashing, but I can't hear him. Might have lost Discord because nothing's changed my end. All that's happened is they've been moved into the after show, right?
Mm-hmm. I can't hear you through the Discord. I can hear other people in the Discord.
Right.
Yeah, guys, I can hear you, but Nathan can't hear you. Although I'm now also on the Google panel and in the Discord.
Yeah, I've left, so we're not getting feedback from you, are we? Now just try and join again.
Ah.
No, nothing. Okay, it looks like we've lost the audio.
Can you hear Nathan? Nathan's trying to speak up.
Hey? They can't hear me, I can't hear them. It looks, I'm flashing, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Weird.
they're
All
in
that's
there.
happened is they've moved. All that's happened is everyone's been moved into the after show, and then I've lost all audio. Weird, eh? Check, check, check.
Check, check, check. What's up? Check.
That you in? That you in? Oh, I can hear you now, Quantum Racer.
I can hear you now. Yes.
Is it all working now?
I'm not in Discord. I'm in Google Hangouts.
Anybody in Discord, say hello, please.
Can you guys hear him in there?
Are you talking in Discord?
Yes, I am. Or I was. They still can't hear you.
Yeah, getting nothing. Let's leave, shut it down, and try again.
Discord's been acting squirrely for the past week, man.
Yeah. Weird.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me with all the nuts there at the baller side, the squirrels show up.
Maybe it evaporated.
Nathan, I just went over there. They heard me well, but they didn't hear. They're not hearing you at all.
Yeah,
So,
weird.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong. Oh well, it's only since they've been moved to the after show, so it's obviously an issue with Discord. So this might end up being a bit of a shorter show.
Why?
Because I've
Yeah,
got no
can I ask
Discord.
that question while QE's here?
Sure. If I can answer it.
Yeah, I think you could answer it. I think Nathan could answer it. I just want clarity on it. Let me see if I phrase it right. So mathematically, equations, modern pseudoscience, rather than doing the scientific method the way it should be, creates a mathematical construct, and within that construct, proves whatever they want to prove by using equations. Is this where it's gone for a while?
I don't know. I mean, you have to get a little bit more specific.
Well, we keep seeing mathematical diagrams show up. If this, then that, but it's all mathematical. It's not anything that they've actually done, but within the math, it works. Within that discipline of that math structure, it works.
Yeah, but math can only describe. It can't explain anything. So descriptions only deal with what's and is at best, at the very best. It can never explain the hows and the whys. It can't. It's incapable of doing. It's non sequitur, right? So it's not that mathematics is bad or anything like that. It can only describe. That's all it can do. Like I said, at best. Now, there's been a lot of what we call is philosophers with calculators. Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm not saying math is bad. I'm saying since they can't prove it the old-fashioned way, they try to prove it by calculations.
Well, you can't do that because, like I said, mathematics can only describe. Again, it depends. It's what question are you asking? Not you, the
Right.
royal you. What question are you asking? Are you asking a what is question and you want to describe something? Then yeah, mathematics, you can describe things mathematically. That's what it is. But as soon as you ask how and why, mathematics goes out the window. That's a different animal. Whole new kettle of fish.
Right. So my point is, this is where it seems to me the ballers are arguing from. They're finding some cozy corner in their mathematics and trying to make it work on both sides.
In their mathematics, no. They're just parroting the mathematics they see on Wiki, and they don't even know that. How many times have we been told over the past couple years that you can't build bridges without Newtonian equations? I have yet to see that. I'm still waiting. Come on, engineers, come on and show us your bridge with the Newtonian equations. All right, you damn sure won't put any of Einstein's field equations up. That ain't ever happened.
What? No space-time bending required for architecture? Yes. Oh, come on, John.
Yeah, with the energy momentum tensor. Go ahead, put up that Ricci tensor. I've been waiting for an idiot to even attempt it. Right? I'm here waiting for you with a flamethrower. Just to let you know. Okay? Idiots.
Yeah, they're working at the really is level when they're building bridges. So you can't be putting field equations from Einstein in there.
No, but they claim Newtonian equations with bridges and stuff. No one's going to dare go with Einstein's equations for building bridges. That ain't happening.
Is it just because they're using...
Newton's equations aren't happening, but you're stepping off into another world with Einstein's field equations. That ain't... Yeah, it's beyond non sequitur.
Is it merely because they're measuring in newtons? Is that all they're doing?
Say again? I didn't catch that.
Measuring in newtons when they're building the bridges?
I have no idea. I've just been waiting to... I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I just want to see it. Everyone claims it. I hear it once a week.
That's only for calculating the structural integrity, like how the weight is going to be divided and all that. So there's some aspect to it.
Well, I want to see it. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I'm not an architect. I don't.
No, not from you, Arwen. I want to see it from the baltards that claim it.
I got a question for you, though.
Hold on. You did that one time.
Hello.
I still think it does. I still think that the mechanism is viable. It's just not really true. It's just a mechanism.
Hello. Go on, Paul. I'm trying to get a word in for the last 5 minutes.
I know. I've been trying patiently. Now, here's the thing about equations. I can write multiple equations that come up with the same answer, right? 2 + 2 = 4. 3 + 1 = 4. 0 + 1 or 4 = 4. Or I can write a huge long equation that when you finally add it up, it equals 4. So equations, you can write whatever you want on the front end as long as it equals whatever you're looking for, right? Yep. So is that kind of in my head? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I went on that angle one time with an old gravity presentation, right? I played that same angle. Yeah, you're right. Was that it?
I've fiddled and faffed and failed to get Discord to work, so I've just cut them off.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just making sure I was understanding correctly. That was it. I walked away from my computer. Sorry.
You cut Discord off.
It was just Alan B in there anyway. So.
Yeah, I think I'll have to restart the computer to get it to work. It's obviously glitched out when they were moved from live show to after show. There we go. Hopefully it'll resolve itself by tomorrow. Anything important you want to add? Because this is going to be where we're round out.
I got up early yesterday expecting a show because I wanted to talk about the friggin' evaporation, and there's no live show. I'm sitting there, wait a second. Is Nathan American?
Yeah, we had a holiday here.
Yeah, he was AWOL for a second.
I only decided now before we were going to go live. I was like, so you're on holiday today? To my wife. She's like, yeah, no, don't have to do anything. I was like, well, I'm going to be on holiday then. That's the beauty of running a YouTube channel. You can just pick and choose. If you're not going to do a day, if you can have a day off, I don't have to ask anybody. Just, do I want a day off? Yeah, I do. I'm going to have one then. God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Not that you didn't let us down or anything. I mean, we weren't sitting here waiting for you. I mean, it wasn't anything important.
But that's the way it goes.
Yes, I was.
That's the way it goes. I say there's no obligation. None of you are under any obligation whatsoever. Sleeping Warrior, for instance. Has he got an earful because he hasn't been here for an eternity? No. He's under no obligation whatsoever.
It's a false equivalence fallacy. He doesn't have a show people depend on.
Yeah, he does.
Yes.
Sleeping Warrior is very important.
The ballers were getting all stressed out, not having their daily lashing. You're underestimating how important you are to so many people.
Yeah.
He's out defending people's valor at the moment, so let's cut him some slack.
Nathan, you're show that wasn't the show yesterday caused the Doppler effect. Just live with it.
Okay.
Right, on that note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on either the members-only chat, if this is yet to be released on the Nathan Oakley channel, or on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's G Plus panel for making the after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!